Welcome back, guys. Steve Areno Cool Kits, Tamiya P-38G, 148 scale, part 3, take 1. Boom. Okay, back. Let's see. So we are motoring ahead on the P-38 here. Again, we're building the G version, and got that circled right there on the instructions. And then, as I detailed before, I've gone through and crossed out, things that I'm not going to do, and circled the things I am going to do. That being said, there's just so much in this kit, and you want to make sure that you don't leave anything out, because it would probably be very hard to. Like I've said before on some of my other model builds, spend about half my time messing up and about half my time straightening it out. But I'm trying to be real careful on this one because I don't want it to, pry things apart and get them all messed up looking. So what I think, what I'm doing is I'm using a pencil, and I'm going through, and I'm literally, area by area, checking off things as I do them, so that I don't leave anything out. And learn my lesson the hard way, because right out of the starting blocks, one thing I forgot to do was for, like, right there. Can you see, like, right down in there, which is over. It's not their fault. It's my fault. They tell you right there, right? You guys can see what I'm saying. They say right there. Get your 1 millimeter drill out and drill that hole out right there. Because once you cement this in, then you got to do a little whittling right here. You can do it, but you've got to do a little whittling to get around that bulkhead. And luckily, I was able to get through there. So I learned my lesson, and I'm going to try to not have any more repeats like that. So I started going through and being more literal and careful about what I'm doing. Now, in the ideation phase, I talked about the fact that I'm going to build the ladder on this in the down configuration. Well, you need to pay attention again, because if you're going to do that, you don't need to install this piece right here. And if you would install that piece and then you would motor ahead, you'd end up on page 15 not being able to put your ladder in, because the way this works, it's gonna kind of be a little, I hope you guys will tolerate this. Let me get the ladder piece out here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is a cool. This is like this kit modeling. Isn't modeling just great, because it's just so enjoyable. So anyway, this piece, if you're not going to put the ladder down, it goes like that, okay? And then what would happen is, you see that little slot right there? That lines up. The engineering on this thing is just, the tolerances are just so fantastic. Look at that. That replicates the ladder when it's up. Isn't that perfect? Look at that. And over there, perfect. Okay, perfect. So, but if you're going to have the ladder down, then you don't put that piece in, and you go like this, And again, they're telling you, so you got to pay attention. And what will happen is you'll bring your ladder at a page 15 time frame. You'll bring your ladder in here, and your ladder will oops, it's this way. Your ladder will go like that. Okay, so your ladder will go like that, and of course it'll look right, because the recessed where the ladder would store will be open, and then around on the other side, look at that. You get this fantastic little indicator, so that the pilot or anybody else could look back and say, "Hey, idiot, you got the you left the ladder in the down position, right?" So well, then maybe they wouldn't say idiot, but they say, hey, you left your ladder in the down position, right? Or you certainly have an indicator showing you that you had it left it in the down position. You see that? Right there? Okay, right there. Okay. So, again, and this is a pretty delicate little piece. So, got that. And then the other thing that has to happen is you need to think about which version you're building, because over here, right, that's where it is. Okay, it's over here. Over here, right here, on this piece. Okay, and then do a little studying on this, because you want to make sure you drill the right holes. But you got a couple different size holes in here. You got 0.6 millimeter, 1.2 millimeter over here, 0.8 millimeter over here, and 0.6 millimeter over here. So you've got some holes that you need to open up for the hard mount points for those tanks. And then I'm building the G version, which had the larger tank on the, well, let's see, got to think backwards here because this picture's shown upside down. So it will be on the, on the right side of the airplane is the larger tank. Otherwise, the F version has two tanks the same size, which I'm not doing that. I'm doing this version here with the larger tank on the right-hand side. So that had to open up these additional holes with the 0.6 millimeter drill. You still open up the other holes, and if you kind of go forward in the instructions to see and get it get it squared away in your head. Just don't assume that everything's going to work out. So, you build up your hard mount points, which are right here. These pylons, they're called, and then those get installed at the right point, right here. Okay, they get installed right here. Okay, and then later on, the drop tanks, and again, I'm doing the one with the larger drop tank on the right side, and it has some extra supports because of its size, and it does use the hard mount points on those pylons. The smaller tank, just on that only, and the larger tank on that, plus these Y brackets here. Okay, so there we go, and then finally here they're telling you about the ladder. But if you hadn't done what I said earlier, then you'd be it'd be too bad, because you would have passed by that point and not been able to get that piece out that should not be installed in there if you're going to put the ladder down. Okay, that's it for now. We're just motoring ahead, but be careful on this kit. It's a fantastic kit, and it'll look fantastic. But as always in modeling, if you're rushing, you're doing it wrong. Hey guys, back. Okay, getting ready to go down and do the washes on the wheel wells, the pieces there that I talked about, and decided I better make sure I knew what kind of color effects I was going for. So I went over there and some of those episodes of the Pacific and tried to get a feel for the colors that would actually be correct for the powder, the coral sand, stuff that would have been blowing all around the airfields down there in the South Pacific. Because I remember one time I looked at this painting of the ocean, and I realized, you know what? There's no blue in that water. I mean, the artist painted it without using any blue, but it looked right. And so sometimes it's not what we think. And so I decided I better go over there and look at episodes of the Pacific and get a feel for what I was seeing. And in fact, it really did change my mind about what would be appropriate and correct for the dust and the dirt and the grime that would be just on the ground and in the air, and then getting blown up off the ground into the wheel wells. And so I'll show you my colors that I selected for that work in just a second. I'm going to make a series of washes of very, very, semi-transparent, and then lay them up from darkest to lightest. But before we go there, let me cut over here and show some other aircraft models that I've done in the past, and you know, it's always a journey process here. We think about what we did before and maybe what we want to try this time. So these are a couple Airfix kits, and you know, I you know, always enjoy my modeling, but these particular kits, there's a lot in here, and if you do the work, I mean, I think these things are only like, you know, $15 or something, but there was a lot of modeling and a lot of fun to be had in these little $15 kits. So what do we got here? We've got a Spitfire, you know, mark something. I don't know what. There were a lot of marks, right? And it was a tropical version, so it's got this sand filter hanging down below right here, right there. And of course, its color scheme and everything was appropriate for the tropics. And this one is a Hawker, a Hurricane. And you know, I never really appreciated the Hawker as much as I did after I ended up building this kit. And the type of you know, fuselage structure in this thing was different than this one. This one was the old cloth and metal panels over a tube frame, and this was that French word which I can never pronounce, which is like a stressed skin, monocoque. I never can pronounce it, but it's the French word for like how you build modern aircraft. So anyway, maybe I'll put a picture of this. So this one over here, I did a technique which I just decided to call the paper doll technique, and you'll see why. But to get all of these demarcation effects, and this one had a really which was, I thought was really cool on the box art picture, had a really cool effect on the leading edge here on the wing, which was the metal. But then they did this sort of I don't know what you call it, a desert snake effect here and over there. Okay, but the point of this is I want to show like some of the effects I did on the weathering. Let me back up here a little bit. Some of the effects I did on the weathering. You know, you want to be all the same color, so you got to go in here with your washes, and you got to get all your effects to bring out the panel lines and get the various shading and shadowing going on all this. Okay, so and get some grime and dirt and everything, you know, in places, not, you know, too over the top, but enough to where it looks realistic. Okay, and or like what would have been. And yeah, there you go, Steve Areno, going nuts with the pilot figure. And I made myself a little. I always thought it was cool the way the British flyers had those flip down goggles. So I made a set of those up there, and I painted them translucent green because, you know, like I say, I always go nuts on my model, and they got little, you know, aerial lines back here, and I got some really cool material for that that's semi-stretchy, so they stay taut, right? But anyway, I didn't used to put my pilot figures in, but now I do. And then I go nuts. I open up the gun bays and, you know, get them, you know, everything like an frozen action shot or something. Okay, so I always remember that line from Battle of Britain where he says, you know, let us go or shut us down, you know, Michael Caine, because he goes, you know, we're going to blow up. You know, we're going to overheat and blow up. They were just sitting there idling and idling. I always think about that. So there we go. And then this one over here, a little different technique on this one. I didn't do the paper doll technique on this. I did the, you know, be really careful with the airbrush technique to get these demarcation lines between the two colors, the brown and the gray. Pilot is in there, and swing it around where you can see him. Okay, not as much to expose on the Spitfire as was on the Hawker. You know, I did cut all the control surfaces loose, you know, get them all moved down and everything like that. And of course, I go nuts. I gotta have my flaps. I gotta have my flaps down. You know, because, and then, you know, like I say, weathering down here, right? Yeah, so I always gotta have my, I don't know, I go nuts. I gotta have my flaps in it. Just, you know, don't move them a lot, just move them a little bit, and it'll look right. So here we go. They say you get your flaps down, you know, on the Hurricane. So I do little stuff like that, and you know, and I'll probably do it on the P-38. You know, I'll probably get the flaps moved around and stuff like that. So, you know, in the chipping solution, all that kind of stuff back in here where you would have walked around. Okay. So when we come back, we'll be looking at the interior wheel wells of the P-38 after the colors that I selected. I make up some washes, and I'm going to go from dark to light. And I've got, of course, black. I've got green. I've got another color green and a light brown. I'm going to put it on. I'll probably put them on that way, like that. In that progression, I'll make some washes, and I think that will look right for the Pacific. Okay, bye. All right, back, guys. Let's see. So we have come back up out of the paint booth, and as mentioned, I was going to go down and put those weathering washes on the interior wheel wells. So let's look at that, how that came out. I'm really happy with the way it went. Like I said, you don't want to go overboard. You don't want to go over the top. You don't want to get it too heavy. But I am really liking, I mean, this is exactly like I was thinking it was going to come out. You know, just sort of looking like that sort of coral volcanic dust that I saw, you know, in those episodes of the Pacific. And that's sort of looking, that's exactly what I had in mind. And man, you know, I mean, I have to say it, you know, I've had a lot of different airbrushes in the past, and, you know, several years ago, I decided to go ahead and make the investment, and I scrapped what I had before, and I switched over to Iwata product, and I've got like three of them, three different sizes. Two of them are the same, but they got different needles in them and everything. I mean, I am really, I mean, that product line just continues to exceed expectations, right? I mean, right, the difference between what you're getting and what you wanted to have, it's what I get is always above what I expected, and that's called delight, right? And obviously, when it's below what you expected, that's called disappointment. But that stuff never disappoints. I mean, that stuff always delights, and as long as you keep it clean. You know, that's kind of like flossing. You know, if you're going to be using airbrushes, you're also buying into the whole masking, and also on the back end counting, you know, buying into keeping them really, really, really clean. I mean, every time you don't put an airbrush at the side afterwards and rush off and leave it all dirty and gunked up with paint. You got to really clean it out and make sure it's good to go for the next time. Otherwise, you know what, you'll be buying a new airbrush, you know, probably. But this ended up coming out just like I wanted, and you know, going to cut away, come back, and then it's all going to be glued up. Okay, so great. Bye. All right. Well, here we are. Got this nose gear glued up, and it looks fantastic. Realize, let me throw a little light on here. Just exactly like I was hoping. I don't know if you guys can see down in there, but it came out just exactly like I wanted. Just the right amount of dust and dirt, like would have blown up in there. And there's some other, you know, pieces that go in here, but they would be a little cleaner. And you know, we're gonna, you know, they didn't need that effect that I was doing here. At least I didn't think so. So that's right. But whoa, hold your horses. I went ahead, and you know, you always want to test fit stuff. So I went ahead and test fit it in here, like the instructions call for. And you know, the tolerances are great. I mean, look at that match line right there. Right, let me back it up, slow mo. So that piece goes up and fits right in there. I mean, look at that, just just beautiful. But what I'm pointing out here is over here on this side, you know, that's going to be covered by this. Where is it? This gear door. See that one? That one it opens like that, right? Meaning that yes, this side of the lower fuselage would in fact be covered up by the gear door mostly, not completely, but mostly. But this side over here would not. So I'm gonna have to, looks like you know, back it up, hold the horses, and are we gonna paint that with the AS12? You bet your boots we're gonna paint that because that would just bug me knowing that it wasn't done the way I like to do things. So we're gonna just sort of take a pause here, go down, get some AS12 out, and paint that, and probably double check ahead on the instructions to make sure we're not going to have a repeat performance of a similar type of situation on the main gear. But for right now, I think I'm going to call part 3 of this build video complete, and you know, we're gonna you know, anything else in the future will be in part 4. Okay, so we'll talk to you later, guys. Bye for now. And again, continues to be a very pleasurable kit to build. Just super impressed with this. And yeah, and you know, just great kit. Get one, build one, have fun. All right, bye.